Hi, this is the one board cabbie. Now, what it's like to be a cabbie. I reckon it's probably one of the worst jobs on earth. You have really no rights. Well, you can't enforce them that much. Example, you don't have, well, here in Australia, you don't have sick leave, you don't have holiday pay, don't get hourly pay. That's because you're classified as a subcontractor. You must pay GST, doesn't matter how much you earn. Every other subcontractor, if they earn under $75,000, they don't have to pay or collect GST. Another thing is we get abused, get touched, harassed, bullied, intimidated, sometimes non-payments. I think it's easy to clean toilets for $25 an hour. It's more inviting anyway. You have to also put up with smelly people, rude people, super nice people, bitches. Some women are such big bitches. The sober ones are worse than the drunk ones. But you get occasionally the drunk ones when they're coming out of that drunk stage to almost like between the drunk and the sober stage, like it's wearing off. Oh my God, they are a freaking nightmare. Another problem I have being a taxi driver, and I've heard some of the blokes as well, but I'm not saying the blokes are innocent in any way. Like, they get hit on by the other blokes, they get hit on by women. I have a problem is when the guys want to hit on me. They want to, because they couldn't pick up for the night, they trying to pick you up, and they even offer you money. And I always turn around and say, well, I'm not a hooker or a brothel, mate. I can take you to one. But then, you know, they offer good money. You know, if I did do that kind of stuff, I probably can make a lot more than any taxi driver in a night. I find also the gay women, what everyone calls lesbians, are just as painful as males. When they want to, I don't know, you to come inside or want to ask you for your phone number, you know, with bloke, you know, it takes about 20 so minutes to kind of get them out of your cab, and it's a little bit easier to get them out of your cab. But with females, I find it doesn't matter what excuse you use, they really, really do not take no for an answer. I even, you know, mentioned that campaign about when women say no means no, which is against men, you know, about the rapes and stuff. But I'm using that scenario. So, well, when no actually means no. Now, they really, really don't get it. That's fine. You know, they think because I'm a woman, they don't see that as harassment or sexual harassment or whatever you want to call it. I just see it as, I kind of see it as harassment and sexual harassment, and I find that makes me very, very uncomfortable. But it doesn't matter if it's from a male or from a female. It's not because I'm not gay. It's just I wasn't brought up that way, and I lived a sheltered upbringing. It was really, really hard for me at first when people talked or hint about sex. I actually didn't get most of it, went over my head. And then when you kind of got it, I felt, ugh, if you know what I mean. It's got nothing to do with their sex or gender or what they like and what they don't like, you know. It just makes me uncomfortable. However, I got a little bit thick-skinned over the years. I just take it to a point, but I still get upset later. I end up crying, or, you know, I just get upset. But I don't want to hurt people's feeling, and I don't want to get them in trouble with the law, because they become a sex predator or sex offender, you see. And the last thing I want is these people, because their impaired judgment, because they might be slightly intoxicated, or because they think that taxis drivers do that. I don't know. But, and I'm a sort of person, you have to do something really, really bad before I would call the cops in. So, and, you know, we all make mistakes, and as long as they don't, all right, they touch sometimes, but, you know, as long as I don't go past a certain point, I'm kind of fine with it, and I can handle myself to a point. If I have to hit back, I'll hit back. If I have to, you know, use some type of tactics, I'll use it to a point where I think now I'm unsafe. And that's the best thing about taxis. They have emergency buttons and GPSs to know where exactly we are. So, or satellite GPSs. So that in a way is a protection. However, I don't want people to get into trouble for minor shit. Anyway, what else? I know the other guys get propositioned by women and they flash their boobs and touch men, touch them, you know, and I even heard that even men hit on some of them. But I've also heard from men who catch my cab and say that some of the taxi drivers actually touch them, the male ones. I find that really, really weird, but, you know. And he says he lets them get away with it to a point, and then he doesn't pay the fare at the end unless he likes them. And I thought, okay, bit of a double standard. Unless he tells them to stop and they stop, then that's fine. But, you know, it's hard to say what they go through their mind. I don't know if he was hinting at them. You know, I only hear one side of the story. But I have seen women flash these taxi drivers, and then, you know, they sleep with these taxi drivers, and they wait 2 weeks and then report them for rape. And all right, I think maybe the women have been. I don't know, but what I've seen women do in front of me and to the other male drivers, and actually proposition them. If I give you this, and if I do this with you, can I get a free fare home? So, there's two sides to a story, but I can't call that one if it's real or false. But in my eyes, I see it a little bit as false, and then on my other side of my eyes, I see that it's probably truth. It's a hard job because you're sitting around a lot of times waiting for people to hire you. Now, you can make anywhere from $0 an hour to about $20 an hour. Sometimes if you're lucky, you can make more than $20 an hour. But however, you've got to take GST and expenses out of that. But I think I'm too soft and I don't push myself anymore. So I'm in the very low category, from where you get $0 an hour to maybe a couple of bucks an hour. Sometimes I lose money. That's because I do shift lease sometimes. And sometimes I give out free fares if they're so close and I know the person's been lazy and I can't be bothered to turn the meter on and charge them the correct fare, because to me it will only go up $1. And to fill out paperwork and pay GST for $1, frankly, in my eyes, is not worth my time or my effort. And I'm not getting paid for it. Most of it goes to the government. And yeah. What else? I don't know. Because I don't do this often. I don't know the other things. I hate when you pick up a cab though and it's dirty or smelly or it's not filled up. That's a really frustrating piece of thing. You know, when the cab's only got 1 or 2 bars, you just want to grab the other driver and smack him across the head and say, look, you know, I got a shift too. I don't want to waste my time filling it up. I don't waste my time cleaning it. But you don't get to see the other driver half the time because the owner won't tell you who they are. Another thing about the job is all the driving around and trying to figure out where these people want to go. Some people don't even know where they want to freaking go. Oh, take me here, around the corner, turn left here. I said, well, what suburb are you going to? That's another thing. When people hop in the cab and they go, can you take me to 23 Pennington Terrace? I said, yeah. What suburb? Rosewater. Thank you. Because, there's a Pennington Terrace in a couple of suburbs. But I'm supposed to be, as a taxi driver, I have to know where their one Pennington Terrace is. And that freaks me out. Another thing that they expect you to know every single road in this state. At least I know most of the major ones. I know roughly which direction for the suburbs. But like I say to them, you don't go to that suburb every time you drive. You might go to that suburb once every couple of years. And you're supposed to remember stuff. Well, I remember most things, but when people don't actually give you proper directions, it's hard to catch every name. There's some names and they say such and such, and I say, oh, I don't know where that is, that's such and such. They freak out. I said, but you can't, as long as you know that nearly every street in the city and some of the suburbs, close suburbs, like the major streets, I think that's sufficient. All right, a lot of them don't want to do the job, so they make out they don't know where it is. And some of them don't even actually know where it is, even though they got a goddamn GPS, which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. And it's also the long hours, it's 12-hour shifts, but, you can start between a certain time and finish between a certain time. You don't have to do the whole 12, but if you want to make your $10, $20 an hour, you have to try and do the 12, especially during the busy period. You need to be quick. I don't push myself because I don't want accidents. I don't want to go the wrong way. I don't want to scare people while I'm in the cab driving. What else is? I find that some of the drivers now are a bit slack on their uniform, and I'm a bit of a fussy pot when you're driving a certain cab for a certain company. You should be in uniform. The companies say that you have to wear uniforms, but lots of the times I don't see them wearing. Another thing that freaks me out, some drivers, they actually break the rules so many times, and the government comes down on us and fines us, and we're just an easy target for them to make money. They don't do anything until like a Friday or Saturday night or a Sunday, because they're earning double time, triple time. And then they come down hard because they need to meet their quota on how much money they can make because the government's broke. But they give you nothing in return. Like, they take taxi ranks away. I know sometimes because it's the taxi driver's fault for overcrowding the rank or parking crookedly or, doing stupid shit. However, they need to come out more often and tell these drivers exactly what they're doing wrong, not just tell them to move on. But they don't actually sit there and explain. I know some of the drivers, I got to a point where they're no longer listening to them because they're too soft. And their answer is fining them without giving them any type of warning, without any kind of explanation. And I think that's wrong. If they gave me the job, I'd do it for free. I'm willing to come out and actually explain to all these drivers, and you write their name and number, the cab number down. If they do it the second time, then go for it. Fine them, whatever you want to do. Another thing I hate is that years ago, the PTB, which is the people that come out and book taxis and make sure taxis are doing the right thing, never used to have a uniform. Back in 2006, I think it was, one came to me about midnight and said she wasn't in uniform. The car wasn't marked, and she says, driver's license and accreditation, please. And I said to her, who are you? She goes, you know who I am. I said, no, I don't know who you are. I'm new. She still did not explain to me who she was. However, I still handed over my details because I'm guessing who she was. And I said, well, she can take my details, it wouldn't worry me because where I live, it's too hard to find me anyway. And if they were a stalker or false person, only the government will know exactly where I am because it's a government plan. And because it's an old piece of property, only the government knows on their map exactly where I am. For the other people, we have to give landmarks because there's no numbers. And that's the best thing about my area. No numbers. Beautiful. Anyway, I get a letter in the mail 6 weeks later say, we won't fine you on this occasion for not handing over your ID and straight away and whatever. So I wrote back and I said, would be nice if your officer had explained who she was and said where she was from and her name. And it would be also nice if the cars are marked and they actually wore a uniform stating who they were. Anyway, guess what? They now have uniforms. And you know what their uniforms look like? Police officer uniforms. The only difference is on their sleeve, it's the same kind of badge, but it says, now what do they call themselves now? Compliance officers. Or public transport, whatever. And I laugh. Because even the members of the public think they're police officers because they look like police officers. They drive in a vehicle that says compliance officer, but it has lights like police officers. And somebody was talking to him one night and explaining what these people were doing. And I went past the person and said, he's not a police officer. And she did a double take and she goes, oh my God, why didn't he say so? I said, because he thinks he's a police officer. They want to be police officers. They want the power of a police officer, but they kind of do against taxis and stuff. But it's just male ego and just show. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say for now. If I can think of anything else, I'll make another video because this one's getting a bit long and boring. Now, if I sign off quickly, sometimes it's because I got a passenger and I have to go. But right now, it's all I can think of. I didn't plan these videos, as you can tell, they're pretty crappy, but you know, I try. Just to vent things, get them off my chest. This might be my last night on the taxis for a while, but see how I go. I've had enough. It's all BS in my eyes. Yeah, I might as well point out while I'm here in this rank. See these two guys standing there? They called, one's a security guard and one's a taxi council guy. They're there to put law and order with people getting into cabs and make sure people get into cabs and the cabs do the right thing. Well, in 6 weeks' time, the government's going to pull the funding from it, even though they're still collecting the tax for it. And so they're not going to have them there anymore because I reckon they can't afford it. But the tax they collect from the airport is over $15 million a year, and they can't afford a couple of guys. I think there's about 6 guys altogether on Friday and Saturday nights for a few hours. And it's all bullshit. They just want to save more money, and they don't care so much about public safety or taxi safety. They just about how much money they can make without doing any out costs, and I think the public's not going to notice. Maybe they won't, because the public can be pretty naive and stupid sometimes. But some are pretty smart, and they might notice they're missing and might complain. So hopefully they complain, because these guys are the only ones that keep these taxis in front of me from stop taking short fares. And that's another thing that pisses me off about these drivers. They refuse to take short fares when they have to, and they get away with it because no one reports them. Anyway, that's all I've got to say. Bye.